Croeso I Jest y Tocyn. Welcome to Just a Ticket, the Transport for Wales podcast. I'm really excited today to do an exclusive podcast with our new, well, I think I could still say new, Mark.
Just about.
Deputy Minister for Transport, Mark Cooper. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. I'm really pleased to be here as well. So it's one of those things that I love doing podcasts. I think it gives us a chance to get into the nitty gritty. So yeah, really looking forward to it. I don't know about new anymore. I think it's about 9.5, maybe 10 weeks in. So I feel like the pressure has been building now. So I feel this is an escape to come to Pontypridd for the day as well.
Great, and you've got the map of Wales behind you.
Yeah, the thing I quite like about this map is that it extends. Now, I'm just thinking, do we make sure we plant our Welsh flags as it extends to the right?
Yeah, maybe we can do that. That wouldn't be my job. Mark, first of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you decided to get into politics.
Wow, that's a big question. So I've always been interested in politics because I think we can change things if we choose to. And so I've always been, how do you make things better? There was a point in time when I thought the best way is to do things, so I set up my own social enterprise. And I thought you could try and make a difference, and then policymakers follow, and I think they do to some extent. But a few years ago, I thought actually what I needed to do was to actually get in there and make a difference myself. So I was a councillor in Barry for Plaid Cymru. Then the opportunity, I thought I wanted to come to the Senedd. I felt that's where I could make a contribution. So I got selected. And then, you're there and you're in the position where when Rhyn said, would you like to be Transport Minister? The answer was yes before he even asked the question, but that was the starting point. But I think it's about where does kind of making a difference come from? And I think ultimately in Wales, that's the Senedd.
Yeah, so making a positive change, really. And your family have got a bit of a background in transport. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Yeah,
so it's so I was very close to my granddad growing up, and my granddad was a train driver. And he's a fireman before that on the steam trains. So he used to shovel the coal in. And I remember one story. So he used to do the trip going up to the valleys. And he says, you shoveling the coal in. These kids used to run along the side of it. One bit of coal used to fall out for the kids to go and put. They go, give us some coal, mate. So he'd like drop a bit of coal out. Yeah. But he got pre-health and safety days. I've actually sat in a cab of one of the old trains when he was driving the train as well. It's just great stories, and he had the full kit, and
God, and you would have seen a massive change now with the new sort of electrified services running on the valleys compared to the old coal trains.
Yeah, and the thing is, so his father was station master at Barry Station, which is my local station. Yeah, and allegedly no train ever ran late when he was in charge of the station there. I'm not sure that's true. This we could always maybe I'll start to adopt that as my mantra going forward. Yeah.
And you touched upon why you got into politics, and the first few months, how have they been?
I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. It's been hard work. There's lots of things to take in. You can imagine it's TFW road. There's all this stuff. Yeah. Really impressed by the team. I've been, I came in here thinking to myself, how do I contribute from day one? And I think the critical thing that I've found is that it's leaning into really good people who are doing good work, and it's been incredible. So it's day one. It doesn't feel that long ago, and yet it also feels like a lifetime ago. Personally, one of the things that I found that I missed when I first started it. So I take the dogs for a walk every morning. When I first started, I was finding I didn't have the time to take the dogs for a walk. And I thought, no, create the time, because that helps me start the day in a better way. So it's been really good, really enjoyable.
So it's a lot of sort of learning as you go with some of this stuff, because obviously you're a new minister, you're new to the Senedd. What would you say you've enjoyed the most?
People. And bit of repetition going on here, but definitely the people. I look and this is across the whole of my portfolio. You've got people who know what they're doing, and that's exceptional. It makes me feel very confident in the work that they've done, who've done good work for a period of time. One of the things I'm keen not to do, because it would be inconsistent with my values, is to just criticise what happened in the past. I think there's been some great work being done across my portfolio for a period of time. And my job is to make sure we continue doing that. So I'm, like I said, I'm looking at people. I can see they've got a fire in their eyes. Some of them, I think, have now seen the fact that you've got a Plaid government rather than a Labour government who are pushing the UK harder than they may have done in the past. I think some people, you see them going, this has been my work that's been let down by us not challenging the UK. Yeah. So that's quite refreshing.
And what would you say has surprised you the most about the role?
Probably the long-termness of it. I don't know whether long-termness is a word, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So I think there's very little that I'm going to guarantee to get done in the 4 years in terms of concrete. We'll be building X, whether it's something like the M4, for example. I won't be necessarily the person who finishes all this work. But that long-termness makes you actually think in a way that's quite different, I think, especially from a minority government. One thing I'm trying to do is make sure that I reach across the chamber a lot so that other people who may come across, we don't know what's going to happen in 4 years' time. Yeah. But if there's a consistency across the political divides, then you've got a chance of actually making a difference. And I think the thing that is most important is that you look at the people of Wales and they want to see their transport system work, whatever mode they choose.
Yeah, and my next question was to ask you about opportunity. I guess you've just answered it. That's what you see as opportunity at the moment then.
Yeah, and I think it's something I'm digging into quite hard. So I'm trying to make sure that this is across my portfolio, is making sure that we talk to people. I give people the actual evidence. What I don't want to do is working in a world where you're dealing with half-truths all the time. So I want to make sure we've got the evidence to back up our decisions. I think that's really important.
Evidence-based decision-making.
Yeah, but share it with other people as well. So what you've not got is somebody, people aren't going to catch me out in the chamber for saying something that is different than the truth. Yeah. What they may disagree with me on is what the decisions that I make, and I'm happy to have those sort of debates, because at least then everyone there has got a consistent starting point. That makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah. And what do you think the main challenges are at the moment? Or is there a list of them?
Yeah, there's a lot. I think there's a lot of things, main challenges. We've got, I think, having a good relationship with the UK government is probably one of the key things that needs to be dealt with. And that isn't so much, if you take rail, for example, we've made consistently, it was in our manifesto, we want the responsibility for rail to be devolved to Wales. And you're having conversations that people don't necessarily agree with you on. I don't think UK government is there at the moment with us. But I think the thing that has struck me about those conversations is that if we have the travelling public of Wales in our mind, both of us, UK government and us, you can start to see some consensus being able to be built. And that's the thing that I think is a challenge. It's a challenge for me, because I think I need to learn more and be able to walk in the shoes or travel in the shoes of those people, but also help other people to be the same. So
you both want the same thing, really.
Well, I think so. I think we all do, and I think this is one of the things that people come into public service as I have, because we want to make things better. Yeah. I think the general public get really fed up when things get caught up in political, people just shouting each other down for no
point scoring.
It's just no good, frankly.
We'll talk. You mentioned a little bit about the Plaid Cymru manifesto. Transport sits under enterprise, innovation and connectivity. I love the word connectivity because there's so many different meanings. And then transport refers to connecting Wales. Just tell us a little bit, what does that mean for Wales and the people of Wales by connectivity, connecting Wales? What does that mean? What would you say? How would you define that?
So I think you can define a number of different ways, but for me, it's about the society we're in. I think sometimes transport is seen just as an economic enabler, and it is. But it's more of a societal enabler. It's as important for, a young woman to be able to get to the health appointment. It's important for me to go in to see my grandmother. Do you see, these things are hugely important opportunities, and I think that's where we've got to get the connections. But I think there's something as well about, so it's connectivity within small geographical parts of Wales, but it's also connectivity across the whole country. And at the moment, I don't think we're as connected a country as we should be. I think there are ways that we can resolve that, and I'm starting to take steps to help that. But ultimately, it's about connecting us better between ourselves, between the north and the south, east and the west, but also not being churlish about reflecting the fact that we need to connect to England too. I think one of the things that is something that's important to the people who are travelling. So it comes back to that same thing. Let's focus on how people travel and how goods may travel, etc. It's about making sure that the connections that make a difference are there, and they're easy, and they're straightforward, and they work for people.
And what does that mean for public transport and Transport for Wales? What's the sort of role that TfW plays in that connectivity piece?
So I think largely it's again, this is about being able to we talked when we met the other week. We talked about the use of words, multimodal and stuff like that. I think from a perspective, people need to be able to utilise the public transport solutions that we give them that suit them for whatever it is. So some things will be rail, heavy rail. Some things will be light rail. Some things will be buses. Some things will be my 2 feet as well. How do you get these things to be stuff that actually does integrate? Integrate is probably the word I've used most in this job at the moment. How do you make sure that things connect back to each other so that you can trust it? And I think part of the work that TfW are doing at the moment is being that connective tissue. It's a bit like it's a living being. There's this picture which called Afonydd Cymru. It's done by an artist, David Elfryn is the guy who did it. I'd encourage people to look at it. And it's the rivers of Wales. And it feels and looks like a living, breathing thing, you know? And I think that's what we do. And if we think of it that way as something that's about making sure these connections work, because actually that's the pulse of our country.
Yes, it's the fabric of our society.
It's great.
Really.
Yeah.
And Wales is a difficult country to fully connect because we've got the map here and this doesn't show, but the geography of the land is quite difficult to connect.
Yeah, but that's not an excuse for me. That's a problem that we need solutions for. Yeah. That's why I think, I think rail's hugely important. I think buses are probably more important. I think if we get buses right, connecting people, you could do a lot of those shorter journeys. But perhaps some of this isn't big buses. You've got as many, the smaller buses
like a flexi service, demand responsive.
Yeah, very much so.
And to talk a little bit more about just Transport for Wales, I think 10 years ago, Transport for Wales was probably an idea on a whiteboard in a Welsh Government office in Cyntaf. We've evolved now to where I think about 4,000 people work for us. We've got the train network, we've invested in the metro, we've invested in the brand new trains, and we've got bus franchising as our next big project. Someone new who's come in, what's your viewpoint at TfW and sort of how it's evolved over the last 10 years?
So I don't think of it as being a new organisation. So I think that says something in and of itself. I think it's a brand. I think it actually, and a brand isn't just a name or a logo. A brand is something that's deeper than that. I think there's a culture to the organisation that's very Welsh, and I think that's coming through quite clearly. And that's something that would have been hard to have you've got a situation where you're picking up from different parts of the network that were owned by other people, and actually you've got people now I think are really proud. I was at Shrewsbury Station a few weeks back, having travelled to Aberystwyth, and the staff who were there on the station platform were really proud to be wearing their Transport for Wales logo, and I think that talks to why this organisation is successful. I think the test of it now is how it deals with the challenges that are ahead of it. So whereas it was a whiteboard maybe 10 years ago or whatever it was, I think now it's much more than that. But the biggest challenges and the biggest opportunities lie ahead of it rather than behind it, I think.
And there's a culture that is, you've mentioned it, the network runs for the people of Wales, but it's actually run by the people of Wales as well. What do you think have been the main achievements of TfW?
So the key one for me is taking over the core value lines, frankly. And I think because that was, we needed, I think for too long, people in Wales have thought, are the Welsh capable of achieving things? And I think what you've managed to do in TfW is prove that we are. So there's a bit of, for me, there's a bit of sticking 2 fingers up to others to say, well, look, we've done this and we've done it exceptionally well. And I think that is also something we can now build on. So when I had conversations with UK government, and let's talk about, are you ready to do this? I could point to something that was a real achievement that shows that we are not just more than capable, we deliver exceptionally well. And I think there'll be things that when we go into our next phase of delivery, there's things we get well, do we do well, there's things we'll do less well. And as long as we've got the culture to be able to deal with that, learn from our mistakes and then keep moving forward, I think that makes a massive difference.
I think that's an important point around the whole South Wales Metro programme. We've taken people, transport experts from all over the UK to Taftswell. I know you've been to Taftswell to see what we're doing there.
I drove a train at Taftswell. You didn't say that, did you?
No,
There's a simulator in it. It's probably, so I've had two experiences. Sorry to cut across you there, James, but maybe I should have said this is my most important thing. I went into I drove a train, not a real one, from Cardiff Central, stopped at Queen Street, stopped properly as well, so I stopped it safely. And then I drove on to Llandarf after that. The good thing about as you leave, I think it's Rada, you can put the
You was in the simulator though, so
yeah, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, so but with the metro,
I felt cut down then. Honestly, so there was the woman who was training me. She actually said to me, she goes, "You've done really well there." There's a tape somewhere that proves it. But anyway,
perhaps you can have a job with us after your job as minister. But with the South Wales Metro, is it a project? You've touched upon it, but is that a project where Wales is leading the way in something, and is something we can point towards what we can achieve when we have the right funding, we have the right support?
So I think it is. I think there's more we could do on it, and there's more we should do on it. I think some of this has been about trying to get people into Cardiff too much, and I think this is about, it connects both ways, doesn't it? So I think there's work to do in the stations and the places that link back into Cardiff. I think that's important. I think we've gone up the valley as well. I think there's room to be, how do we spread east and west to make the connections easier there? I think there's that to do. And I think the other thing, and this is probably really important from a Welsh perspective, how do you take the learnings and apply them elsewhere in a country that's quite different? So we've got, the Cardiff and Newport agglomerate, cityscape is quite big in Welsh terms. Nothing else is as big as that. So how do you make the Swansea Bay Metro work? Because it'll be different. How do you make it work on to the north of the country? Because it'll be different. I think as long as we recognise they're different, that's where we'll learn. And
I think we've got the blueprint to apply that, like the work we're doing up in Network North Wales and connecting North Wales to the borders. That's really important as well, what's going on up there.
It is. A word I don't use very often is North Wales. I use the north of our country, the south of our country. And the reason for that, sometimes when I was at a presentation the other day and I noticed it said, it's a Welsh presentation, it said about North Wales, and it also said about the north. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? And it was
one country,
so we should think about things that probably in that regard. What we do get in conversations like that, though, is that when you start to realise that's our geography, that's our footprint that we're working within, you get people they see things as places being closer than they were before as well, which is really important to us.
Yeah, and focusing a little bit just on rail, you in your Plaid manifesto, I think you dubbed it the Great Welsh Train Robbery. What does that actually mean? Sounds like a film, but...
So the people of Wales understood this as well, which I think is one of those, if you start to look at what were the things that really mattered for the people of Wales when they went to the polls in May, one of the things they felt is that Wales, for too long, hasn't really stood up for itself sufficiently in relation to the UK. And you've got a situation where HS2, which is what we're talking about here, is a huge project for England, but it's dubbed by the Treasury as an England and Wales project. So that means our tax money goes to fund this particular project. And we don't get any consequentials, whereas in Scotland, they get consequential funding for that spend. In the north of Ireland, they get funding for that spend, and in Wales we get nothing. And if you were to look at the money we've already lost in the time period so far, it's about £850 million. Now, I get really, when people talk about figures as big as that, you get lost in the size of the figure. But this is the sort of money that would genuinely transform our transport system. It would transform other things as well. And if HS2 is now sitting, I think it's 102, 103 billion pounds is the cost associated with it. So the consequentials that I think we should have, and I think the people of Wales think we should have, is about 5.2 billion pounds. the worst thing about this, though, James, and this is the thing that's frustrating, is that in Wales we all used to agree this, you know, and now you've got parties who seem to be saying, well, actually, no, that should stay in Westminster. I think what we are going to do as government is really force the case with this.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with UK government where I said this is really important, and these are the things that over the period of time, you know, I want our country to be connected, to go back to the things that we spoke about.
Yeah.
But to do that, we need to be fairly funded, and that's critical for this.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things we need to get, really. What would be your main priorities for rail in Wales?
For rail, I think we are continuing with the bit. So we've got a lot of work. So £14 billion has been put forward as the amount of money that the UK government has agreed as part of the Transport for Wales project plan that they would like to invest in Wales.
We had that agreement.
February, wasn't it?
Yeah, February at Taf as well, with the Prime Minister.
So for the Prime Minister of the
at
day.
At the time, the Prime Minister at the time.
So when this goes out, hopefully we'll still have the one who's just been, it's just become it. But ultimately, this is about making sure there's some consistency, because I think, you know, people who are in TFW need to know there's consistency about this so we can plan for it. And the thing, again, you know, when I met the rail minister in UK government a little while ago, one of the things that we were able to speak about is that if we had that £14 billion and we knew when it was coming in, we'd be ready to spend it. Yeah. We'd be ready to start work. We've got the people and the skills because of what's happened on the core valley lines to get in with the space. Yeah, absolutely.
Get on with the work. Yeah.
And I think, you know, again, this talks to, you know, people out here. That's what they want. They want to know that we're getting on with it and things are coming. They'll accept, because people, you know, sometimes we don't treat people with the respect that they deserve. People understand that these things take time. What they don't understand is when they take time unnecessarily. So we've got to get through all of the blather and nonsense that gets ahead of it. Let's get this money booked in. Let's get it programmed so we know when it's coming in through the spends and reviews. Let's get Transport for Wales starting that work. And things like the burn stations on the M4 are a really important thing. And I want to make sure that we can accelerate those as quickly as we possibly can.
Because the public need to see something tangible that you can talk about, you can have the plans. In the early days of TFW, we talked about bringing in new trains. It wasn't until we had them trains on the network that people could jump on, that people believe they come in.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with all these longer term projects. We need to get the money so we can get on and deliver them for the people of Wales.
Yeah, and we got people who are ready to start doing it as well. So this isn't there's no pipe dreams in what we're talking about. This is actual reality. We get on, we make a difference. And I think this is one of the things that I think I'm focused on trying to sell to the UK government. You know, I need to, as a new Wales Secretary of State for Wales, Stephen Kinnock, who I want to make sure he understands why this £14 billion is important. We've got the same transport secretary as we had before. Yeah. So that's good. There's some consistency there. Yeah. And that's, you know, I feel we're in a good place because, you know, going back a few minutes ago, we talked about we all want to make it work better. Yeah. So we have a shared commitment to solve these things. Let's make it a reality now. And
a new government in Westminster, they'll the same as Plaid. They'll want to make change and make positive change quickly. Yeah, and so Plaid, our government, you know, one of the things I said before, when we were going through the machinations of changing Prime Minister, or they were going through machinations, one thing is that we're pretty consistent. So Plaid knows what we want. Yeah. We want fair funding. We want to end the Great Train Robbery. We want devolution of rail. So our asks have remained the same. But they're not full of ideological reasons for it. They're because actually we've proven that we can make things better for the travelling public, and that's what we need to do. That's the end goal, yeah. We've talked quite a lot about rail. We've touched upon bus. Recently you made the announcement about the north-south coach. Tell us a little bit about that. So I think this is really important. So we talked about connecting the country, didn't we, a few minutes ago, and I think this is an example of something that does just that. Now, there's been calls for a long time for there to be a rail link north to south. And whilst I think that'd be a good idea and something that I'd like to see over there, and it's in the TFW vision document, I think what we need to do is to start and make things work quickly. So one of the things, being a pragmatist as I am, how do you get people from the north of the country to the south of the country as quick as you can, using the network, the current system that we've got? And this is that. I think it'll be something
you know, I've seen the visuals, I've seen the coaches that we've got. This will be travelling in comfort. It'll be travelling, you know, you'll know that where it's going to be stopping. You know the timetable is a good timetable. It'll be consistent. And going back, I was at the Network North Wales board the other day, and one of the things that struck me about their focus and their interest is that they talk about the public need confidence these things are happening. So we're really confident that this is a project that will work, and we're invested into it, so it makes sure that it's there, it's running. You know, I want it running, and you know, hopefully sometime in the not too distant future we'll be able to announce the launch date for it.
And you was up in North Wales for 30 brand new Traws Cymru buses just a few weeks ago as well?
Yeah, it rained though.
Yeah.
You know, I was running back and forth between the buses with an umbrella. It was a long day, so what I wanted to do is make sure that I could get to the place I was going to get to by public transport, because I think if I'm the transport minister, I need to do that. Tomorrow I'm at the Royal Welsh Show. I'm travelling there by public transport. These things aren't as easy as I'd want them to be. I'd like them to be easier. Yeah. But by experiencing it, I can talk with some confidence about what's going on. But it's great. These buses were fantastic. And the thing that struck me most about that particular visit is the operators there really cared about the service. These are local businesses who run those coach and bus operators there, and they understood their markets. They understood, you know, some of them were still driving buses and coaches as well, so they're people who are on the ground people. And I think that's something that struck me as really important.
And the double-deckers, some of them,
Yeah, double-deckers were great. Yeah. So I did some interviews on the double-decker, which was great. I've just been on a double-decker in Newport bus just before I came here. Yeah. One of the older ones. The only thing I would say, the older ones had a little bit more height in them, so I could, because as I got to the top of there, I banged my head a bit.
Bus franchising, that's one of the biggest things we're working on now at TFW for the next 5-6 years. There's lots of work to be done in franchising the buses in Wales. We started with the Southwest Wales. You know, what is franchising and how important is that to creating that connected Wales that you talked about?
So I think buses used to be controlled by local government in the main, but then when things were deregulated, it was just left to the commercial operators to put buses on wherever they felt they could make some money. That was then filled in by the state that then came in when there was no service and they needed to infill with some of them. What franchising does is have a little bit more control over the network, so we know that we can put a consistent quality of service in all different parts of Wales. I think it makes sure that even where there are services that wouldn't necessarily get a commercial route to them, we know that there are going to be some consistency. So it's putting those out there for operators to bid for, and then hopefully we'll have a consistent service. Where I think it has huge benefit over the long term is that it starts to connect those places like we were talking about before. And that's critical, I think, for the way that we as a country want to be connected. So as you said, we talked a lot about rail, but this is about those other connections that are the mesh. And ultimately, lots of people travel by bus. There's a lot of people who don't travel by bus at the moment who I'd like to get using the bus network, but they need to know that if they turn up at bus stop A, they'll get to place B in the time they expected to. And some of that is about making this thing work effectively.
And that integrated network between bus and rail, I think you mentioned the example yourself. You caught the train down to Carmarthen and then the bus up to Aberystwyth. And that's important because when we talked about the geography, and it is difficult to sort of connect Wales using one mode, that integrated network is going to be the way you can do that.
And people just, it's confidence, isn't it? So with all of those things, you've got to know that when you get off at the other end, the next stage of your journey will feel almost seamless. Now, I think the quality of the buses these are well-equipped buses you're on. They feel like they're almost on a train, essentially. You know, it's that standard.
And that's important to attract people to use them as well, understand what they're going to get.
Yeah, and people need the one ticket as well. Yeah. You know, so this is part of our solution now, is to make sure that, you know, when I left Barry, and if I'm going to Aberystwyth, I can book a ticket. It's a single ticket. It's an easy to understand ticket, and I can go train, bus, train, whatever the mode I need to do, it'll work.
Yeah. And the final part of the integrated transport sort of puzzle is what we refer to as active travel.
Yeah.
which is walking, cycling and wheeling. You know, what does that mean, and sort of what are we looking to create, and how does that work in the wider sort of network of rail and bus?
I think this has been an area that's also been subject to a lot of misinformation recently in terms of what the infrastructure you need to put in place. But what it means is really simple. It's the oftentimes short journeys that people do using their feet on a cycle or wheeling. So I think they're the everyday use. I think we used to do it a lot more than we do now. Historically, and I think they're probably they need to be places that feel like they're good places to walk, safe places to walk. I think too often we have bikes, for example, who are competing with cars for journey on a road, and that's really dangerous. But these are things that we need to change, and that's what I want to support local authorities to continue doing, is investing in those networks. I think sometimes people say, well, no one's using the active travel network. Well, we go back to the point we were saying earlier. These things need to be there so that people can have confidence.
They have the option to use them.
Yeah, and it will start building and will start working. And, you know, this is a huge benefit. One of the things that Rydym's been really clear about as First Minister, he said he wants government departments to work alongside each other. So active travel must be one of those easy wins for preventative health. Yeah. If you walk a bit, if you cycle a bit, these are things that can improve it could lead to a healthy lifestyle. So I think there's a real win-win opportunities here. I think it does link as well. We talk at the moment, one of the things that's keeping me up at night, deliver on learner travel, which I think is a really tricky thing. But one of the parts of that is about safe walking routes to school. Yeah. And I think that's something I really want to get to understand and make sure that they feel safe, they are safe. You know, sometimes we disregard if the school's at the top of the hill. It's actually quite a steep walk up for children in the morning. How do we make sure these things, we understand them better in the first place and make it easier? And
local people shouldn't really be using their cars to go 10 minutes down the road to take the kids to school. There should be a network where people can...
So I think we provide the network. Yeah. I think sometimes when we use words like shouldn't and things like that, that's probably something that we should try and avoid, right. Just to say, listen, let's make sure these choices are there for people. And then
available, yeah.
But we make public transport then. This is our job then, is to make public transport so good that people may be sitting in a car in a traffic jam and they see this bus flying past them, you know, a lot quicker. People in comfort, you know, listening to music while they're doing if they're doing emails or you say, oh, that's better than being stuck in this.
Yeah, yeah. You know? And it's easier to walk to different places if the options are there. Touch upon rail, bus and active travel. A few broad level questions to finish off now, Mark. What's your top 3 priorities for improving public transport over the next 4 years?
So I think this is probably the first one is what I was talking. So recognising this is a long-term strategy to solve these problems. I think it's about making sure that there's some consensus across the body politic. So essentially, we as a collective, not just in the Senedd, but more broadly, local authorities as well, that we've compromised a bit and recognise that this is what we're going to be delivering. So the general public can look at it and go, so these are the steps that are going to be done over the next 12 years or so. So although you're talking about my 4 years, I'm interested in making sure that we have an approach that is consistent for us over the next 10, 12 years.
It's a long-term plan.
Because it is. You know, if we were to build you and I started to build a train station, you wouldn't want me building a train station. If we were doing this together.
I thought you were going to be a driver. So
yeah, I know, because I'm changing my mind. I'm looking for anything. You know, I just want to stay in the rail industry. But if we're going to do a big project, it isn't going to happen quickly. So we need to make sure that there's consistency. So I think that's the first thing.
It's a long-term planning.
Yeah, I think the second thing that I'd like is to make sure that the services we've got are delivering at a high quality as well. And sometimes I think we spend a lot of time worrying about what we should call something instead of making getting it to do the job it needs to do, so people feel really confident in it. And I think the last thing, and this is something that I've picked up in recent weeks that is really important, is that there are certain groups who still feel that the rail network in particular isn't as safe as it should be. And I want to make sure that their voices are really heard. So there's women and girls on our network, especially if they're events. I think we can do a lot more on that. Yeah. And also young people. Young people still concern themselves with whether our transport system is as safe. And a lot of this is perception rather than reality. Yeah. but it's our job to make sure that these things sort themselves out. So I think there's, and part of that is by making sure the voices are heard and in the room. And part of my job is when I speak to people who are the doers in this, I bring those voices loud in those conversations.
I think that last point is really important. We obviously want to grow the network. We want to get more people using the network. So you've got to address them issues where people feel they can't use the network.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, we use we talked about data, making sure we use data. And we often talk to people who are users of our network. What do you think of this service? Was it a good service? What I think we do less of is those people who are currently not using our services. So buses are a good example. There's a lot of people say, well, I never use the buses. Why is that then? So let's dig into those conversations. Yeah. I don't think the answers will be as straightforward as we think they'll be. I think there'll be lots of different answers, and maybe the solutions we have to provide then solve lots of different problems. Yeah. But I think that's the challenge for us.
Well, that was my next question would be, what do you think the top 3 challenges are for public transport over the next 4 years?
So I think we've touched on it. I think my job is to make sure UK government and us are in lockstep to deliver these things. And these are hugely important and things that we may not agree on at the moment, including devolution of rail and fare funding. So these things that won't be easy for us to do, but they're things that I'm committed to engage on. And I think, if we focus on the travelling public first and foremost, I think we can get somewhere with it. I think the other challenges are going to be about making sure that we maintain what's good at the moment. So it's very easy, I think, for anyone in my position to make something that's good bad, frankly, because I can spend too much time doing stuff that doesn't really matter. My job is to support the teams who are doing the work to make sure they continue working at the same quality they're doing at the moment. So I think that's a challenge. That's a challenge for myself. Yeah,
and you was at our event last week at Camden Depo, actually talking about the facility there. That's a facility that's going to allow us to maintain the fleet that we currently got.
Yeah, brilliant. So I went. So that was the new bit as well. But I also then spent time after that to look at the old engineering where I went to Pullman and looked at what they were doing, and that was all. They both visits were fascinating, but the second one I think I learned more about, because these are being able to utilise and making sure that the existing fleet stay on the tracks as well, and that really matters. It was one side of it was pristine and beautiful and new. And the other bit was, make sure you don't hit that, because you'll never get that grease off your clothes ever. Yeah. But I think that was really important.
Yeah. I suppose my last question is, what does success look like, and how do we measure it?
Yeah, I think this is it's really important that we focus on how we measure success, and people need to understand. So you talked about it earlier. You talked about people they didn't believe the new trains were on until they saw them. So I think we've got some challenges ahead of us that we've already talked to, and some of them won't be developed in the 4 years that I've got as Transport Minister. But we need to show that there's step change improvement. So this is about saying to people, we're going to achieve this by December 27. We're going to achieve this by November 28. Whatever the step changes are, we make sure we hit those milestones.
Showing progress.
And a lot of that needs to be visible. So I think that where we're making improvements, let's make sure we shout about them. Let's make sure we talk about it. And let's make sure we talk to the people who are currently not using our services, because I think they're where the opportunity is. And once we've got that sorted, so too often people talk about modal shift as this nirvana of where you want to go to. But if we focus on delivering exceptional services, which I think broadly we're doing now, and grow those services, people will be on those trains, people be on those buses, and Wales will be a better connected nation.
Great. And just to finish off, we've got our Transport for Wales Summit, Transport Summit, next year in Swansea Arena on the 16th and 17th of June. It's going to be a really important event to bring the right people around in the venue to talk about different aspects of transport and show collaboration. The last one we had up in Wrexham, which was last year. Do you want to just share a few words on the summit and how important it is in helping create this connected Wales?
So I think part of, whenever you get people together, I used to use it in a previous job, talk about serendipity. So you don't know, the conversations you don't expect to have with people you didn't expect to meet always bring out some really interesting things. So you'll get that. You'll get new people there talking about things that are important. I think the ability to share best practice. There was an academic once said that best practice is a poor traveller in Wales. It doesn't seem to move quickly. Well, we're the connectivity experts. We're the people who should show that these things can happen and share. So we talked about what we're doing in the South Wales Metro. How do we talk about it in the Swansea Bay Metro? How do we talk about in the north of the country? I think that's really critical. And the other thing is a bit of a personal commitment for me. I find that you've got ministers who tend to do keynote speeches for events like these, and then they jump in the car and disappear really quickly afterwards. I won't be doing that. If I do a speech to kick it off or whatever I do, I'll stay behind. I'll listen to all the things that are going on. And we've already... The reason I do that, the last Rail Cymru event that I went to... I was
going to say, you did exactly that in Rail Cymru.
And it made a difference to me.
Because you would listen and speak to different people.
Yeah, and things I wouldn't have been able to get. So it's about making sure that people, ears open and listen to what's going on.
Oh, great. I'm really excited for that summit next year. Thanks, Mark, for coming on. It's been great to have you on the podcast, and hopefully we'll have you on again.
It's good. I love it. So thanks ever so much.
Diolch yn fawr.
Yeah.